time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by PSE Archery,
Spot Shooters Archery,
EZ Kut,
Packer Max,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Scent Lock,
Scent Blocker,
Limb Walker Game Calls,
Buck Baits,
Gut Check,
Stanislavski Release Aids,
Copper John,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
and Wind Sense Vapor Hunting Products.
And don't forget you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams with Dan DeFaw sitting in a warm cabin tonight as usual.
We are
second weekend of
in
August.
a warm cabin, but that does not mean you don't have to get a fresh drink in your hands, like Hunter's Blend Coffee.
That's right, because we can help you out with that.
And you can even make it iced coffee, and we can help you out with that. Just go on to huntersblendcoffee.com, use the promo code capital UNJ.
See it right here.
And you'll get 10% off your order when you check out.
All right. So you want to just get right into it?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, tonight we have none other than Jerry Milos, the CEO of EZ Kut Products, and he is boogieing down the road. Jerry, what's going on?
Hey, guys. How are you?
We're doing fabulous. Looks like you're styling and profiling there, man, right down the road. What's going on?
Man, I'm cooking down, Highway 30 going east, going home. Just got done with the Texas Trophy Hunters Extravaganza and meeting and greeting some of the best people in the world. And just, on my way home. I'm going to do the first leg here tonight.
Okay, so where's home at for you?
Well, I live right outside of Chicago. I'm in a suburb called Mount Prospect, and I've been living there for the past 25 years.
Well, Danny could have met you over there, and he could have drove you the rest of the way home. He was just over that way.
Really? Yeah, Danny, what's up?
I was in St. Charles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I got some friends in St. Charles. Yep. Nice western suburbs there. Yes.
Well, I could. It was a wedding, so I couldn't miss it. But I wouldn't have mind going down to help him down in Texas.
Right. So what are you doing in Texas?
Well, Texas Trophy Hunters Extravaganza is they have a 3-show circuit here, and we usually try to catch 2 or 3 of them. They've got one in Dallas-Fort Worth. They do another one in Houston. That was last weekend. And then the next weekend they have one in San Antonio. And it's just a big outdoor show filled with hunters and gun enthusiasts and fishermen. And
good people.
It's a fantastic show. Yeah, great stuff.
Lots of good people.
Well attended? Very
large show here in Fort Worth. It was about 700 vendors. They probably put about 50,000 people through the show. It's a big one.
Wow.
And you know Texas is a big state. They do everything big, and everybody in Texas is doing some type of shooting sports,
Go big or go home, right?
Exactly. Yep.
That's cool. Well, the reason we got you on tonight is to talk about EZ Kut Products. You're the man to talk to. Let's take a little step back in time and tell people, about EZ Kut that may be watching that might not know a whole lot about them. Give us the rundown here.
Absolutely. Well, EZ Kut has been around, believe it or not, for over 35 years. It is, I won't say it was a small brand, but it certainly was a well-known name in the hunting industry, especially with archers. For about 33 years, a gentleman named Buster Greenway had started the business, and he was the first one to bring the original EZ Kut ratcheting pruner to the outdoor industry. It was used by trappers, outfitters, bow hunters, gun hunters. They knew that was the best tool to take into the woods. It was lightweight, powerful. The thing you couldn't destroy it, and it would do the biggest limbs. You could cut the smallest sticks that would ruin a shot from a bow and arrow, okay, or deflect a bullet, and it would cut those smaller branches with ease. If you wanted to lay a trail in the woods, and go in scent-free, it was the way to cut instead of hacking away with a saw or grabbing the branches and just knocking them down by hand. Obviously, that's not a very good tactic. And, also by virtue of the pipe cut, it was the original pruner that you could actually pipe cut with. You could take down about a 3-inch tree with this tool. So it really had a great reputation. And about 24 years ago, I went into a show called the Deer and Turkey Expo in Madison, Wisconsin. I was a young bow hunter at the time. I just got into bow hunting, may have done it for about 3 years. And I met this gentleman, Buster Greenway. And I was a young gun, and he stopped me and he said, "Hey, are you a bow hunter?" And I said, "Absolutely." And he said, "Well, I want you to see this." And he started showing me a demo of this tool. And I thought, okay, that's pretty cool, you know. And being a hot shot, I don't know if at the time I had $20 to spend, but he stopped me as I was about to leave, and he said, "Look, check this out." And he grabbed a big limb. It was about two and a half inch limb, and he put it down on the table. And he took that pruner, and he did a pipe cutting technique, and he basically circled it. And he asked me to finish it off, and I did, and I could not believe. I was just, my eyes popped out of my head. I could not believe that this small tool basically knocked down a tree. So I was like, gotta have it. And ever since, I had one in my pack, and I've taken it all over North America hunting with it. And that 24-year-old pruner is still working today.
You got the same one with you?
Yeah, still working today. Never changed the blade. I could not believe for $20 I bought a tool that lasted 24 years.
That's less than $1 a year.
Yeah, yep, exactly. What an investment. So fast forward about 10 years ago, okay, I met my good friend Scott Bass, who is now my business partner in EZ Kut, and we started hunting together. Initially, just going to different land. He had different spots. I had different spots. We'd share. You know how guys do. Okay, you come to my spot. I'll set you up. You come to my land. I'll set you up in this tree stand. And we were so, you know, we loved it so much, the bow hunting part of deer hunting, that we started filming our hunts. And back at the time, this was middle 90s. The hot videos at the time were the Jerry brothers. I'm sure you're very familiar with the Jerry brothers.
Absolutely.
And we were so, we loved watching all those videos, and we learned so much about them that he and I started filming our hunts. That led to us not only filming our hunts, we got pretty successful at it. We actually applied for the show Dream Season, he and I, filming our hunts, and we were runner-ups to the second Dream Season television show.
Okay.
We weren't chosen, but it was a great experience, and we were runner-ups. That led to us continuing filming, and we then started filming for Deer and Deer Hunting TV, and we were on about for 5 seasons on Deer and Deer Hunting TV because we had a lot of great hunts we would share with people. Every time we were hunting together, you know, and we would switch off camera to guy that was shooting, you know the deal. We would keep coming back to what is the best tool we got in our backpack. You know, keep asking ourselves, and we had certain, you know, things that we each of us liked, but there was one tool that consistently we would go to that we both had, and it was EZ Kut Pruner. And, you know, you spend a lot of time in the deer stand, so you get a lot of time talking with your bud. And we just kept talking about, boy, you know, we're in the different businesses and kind of getting stale on it. We would love to get something in the outdoor business, and we knew we would like to move a product, something that we believed in, that we trusted, that we knew would be a game changer. And we kept coming back to EZ Kut. So we chased down Buster, and we spent about 4 years trying to convince him to sell the business to us. And he finally, I think maybe we just annoyed him so much, and he finally gave up, and he decided to sell the business to us. And we did, and that was about it was about 6 years ago now. And that's the history of it. We bought the company. We haven't looked back since. Since then, we've had gone through another number of changes, and certainly I can cover that with you. But at the time, he had about 4 products, and right now we're sitting on about 24 SKUs in the business.
Nice.
And rebranded it and created a website, a totally, you know, functional website where you can shop on and check out videos and see all our products, and have added more and more lines, and now we're moving into the pro world.
Well, looking back, it took you 4 years to get there. That's almost like chasing a buck. You know, a big buck, something that you want, and you were persistent at it, and 4 years later, you got it. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, that's a good analogy. That's exactly what it was like. A lot of this business is exactly like hunting.
It just takes time, persistence, and just doing things the right way, and then you're rewarded for it. So that's awesome. Well, looking at the products, you mentioned the pruner. I've got the pruner right here, the original. Talk a little bit about the pruner right now. I mean, why should somebody put one of these in their hands? We already know the answer, but I want you to tell everybody out there why.
Well, I see it day to day. I talk to hundreds of people today, and they'll look at the tool and they go, well, it's just a ratcheting. It's just a pruner. Okay. And some of them don't know it's ratcheting. They've never seen ratcheting before.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so many different features about that tool that makes it better than other pruners. First and foremost, it was the original ratcheting pruner. So it had the patent on when it first started. When the patent ran out, there were 1 million copies made, most of them made in China.
Okay.
Now, there's a big difference between a Chinese-made tool and tooling that's done in another country, say Taiwan or South Korea or Spain, for instance, or America, for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
But any of these tools, the big difference is the raw materials. In China, they tend to use recycled raw materials, and the strength is just not the same. It doesn't have the tensile strength. It doesn't have the strength to do what ours can.
Okay.
That also is a big part of what is going on with the knife in the pruner.
Okay.
Our knives are SK5 hardened carbon steel. Big difference. Once they started changing, once that got hot in the hunting industry, I mean, you can go to Cabela's or to Walmart. You've seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
And you walk in, you walk into a Walmart or a Cabela's or a Bass Pro or one of the smaller sporting chains, and what do they have? They might have a double pack, right? It'll be a small pruner, a ratcheting pruner, and a handsaw.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Those are all good for one use, but that's basically what they're for. You'll use them, they'll bust, and you'll throw them away, and you'll buy another one a month later, a year later.
Right.
And you're just going through the same thing all the time. You're constantly replacing the tools. In the EZ Kut world, we don't believe in that. We believe in delivering a quality tool that's going to last forever, and we stand behind it with a lifetime guarantee. So I don't care what you do. And I'll tell my customers at a show, I don't really care if you drive over it with your truck. I'd rather you not.
Right.
But if you do, send the tool in to me. We're going to fix that tool. We're going to clean it. We're going to sharpen it. We're going to send it back to you. So it's backed by the best lifetime guarantee. That's been on it for 33 years. It's the oldest, best lifetime guarantee in the outdoor tool industry.
That's standing behind a product.
Yeah,
flat out.
Correct. Flat out. So what you got is an all-metal pruner with the best knife blade you can buy, and all the parts are metal, okay? And it's going to be the strongest, toughest pruner you ever own. I hear day in, day out, when the old customers come to see me at the shows, they tell me, oh my gosh, it's the best pruner. I've been through 100 pruners, and this is the best pruner. And the reviews speak for themselves, and all you got to do is get one in your hand, and you'll find out.
That's what it took me. I got one in my hand, and I could not believe it. And after I got it in my hand, I went back and bought the Sling Pack right away. But I want to go back to something you said earlier, and that I haven't really thought about until you said it. You're talking about going through the woods, using this tool versus a hatchet or machete or a saw. This is quiet. You don't make noise. You're talking about keeping your hands keeping your body from sweating and working so hard, leaving scent in the field. But this also is quiet. That's the other thing that I really hadn't thought a lot about until you said that, going through the woods. It is quiet. So it's double-edged, so to speak.
Totally. I mean, that's the beauty of the tool is if you're climbing a tree stand and you're set, you're running a gun and you've got a climber, per se, and you're starting to run up that tree and you come up to a limb.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, it might be that you got a pretty hefty limb in your way. Well, the pruner with the circle cut can handle that. When you get your saw out, and I have a saw in my backpack as well. They're needed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get your saw out, there's a lot of movement involved. There's a lot of noise. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're creating a lot of it's just a lot of action in the woods that you don't need to be having. The pruner does it all.
Right. Exactly.
And then the pruner. Where the failure of the saw is, the small stuff that would deflect an arrow. You're not cutting that with it unless you grab that branch with your hand, which is a no-no in the deer woods if you're chasing big bucks. They smell you before they ever see you.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and
right.
you cannot leave scent in the woods. That's how I hunt. I've been doing it for a long time. You can't leave scent in the woods. You avoid brushing up against stuff. You avoid touching anything. And, the more you practice that, the more successful you'll be. With the pruner, it's surgical. You can get it out, you can cut that branch, let it fall down. The deer will never know you were there.
Well, you know what, Jerry? As we're talking about that, as we go into the Sling Pack, we talked about the pruner. How about we take a break, we come back, and we start running through what else you got in the Sling Pack itself?
That'd be great.
All right, I tell you what, guys, we're going to step outside real quick. We'll take a break. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has reinvented the way you buy bows.
From now on, you can make the most educated decision possible
by basing your bow choice specifically on your shooting needs and goals.
All you need to do is ask yourself, what kind of shooter am I? What do I want to achieve?
PSE will help find the right category for you.
So, what kind of shooter are you?
Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back. Second segment of the show. Man, I'm trying to rush this along.
I know you're
What's
right.
up with that? So we've talked about the pruner and talked about how the pruner came about and how Jerry got involved with the company. Jerry, when I got the pruner, like I told you, I immediately went out and got the Sling Pack, which is loaded with a lot of goodies. Talk a little bit. What is a Sling Pack? What comes in it, and why did you decide to go this route with the combinations?
Thank you. Well, again, we'll go back to the past where Scott and I sitting in tree stands. All our best ideas have come out of a tree stand.
Mm-hmm.
So we over the years, once we bought the company, we never stopped hunting. We filmed even more for deer hunting TV. And while we were talking about the different tools that we could add to the company to bring value to the customer, we knew we wanted to create a lopper that was big and bad and was going to be the best freaking tool you'd ever find, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because EZ Kut at the time when we bought it did have a lopper, and it was a good tool. It just wasn't a great tool. So what we did is we designed and developed a tool called the G2 lopper. And I need to tell you about it a little bit before I tell you about the Sling Pack, because that's why we invented the Sling Pack.
Okay.
We kept saying, well, look, if we're going to build the best tools, we got the best ratcheting pruner. We know it. We've compared them to all the tools out there. We know it's the best. We just created the G2 lopper. We believe it's going to be the best, and I think time has proven that. It's the number one lopper that cuts up to 3-inch limbs. So your usual loppers at a store cut to about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches. That's their max capacity. So what we did is designed a tool that will actually cut over 2.5 inches to up to 3 inch. So it's just a phenomenal tool. I think I hear it in the background.
Yes, you do.
I believe that's the G2. I can hear that. It's like a call to me.
That's right.
So that G2 lopper, it's just a beast. I mean, the thing just cuts like the devil. It will cut up to 3 inch. It'll give the cleanest, finest cuts. The way we designed it, it'll knife through nice and straight. And for the professional who wants to save trees, wants to prune important fruit trees or vines, this is the tool. It extends from 18 to 42 inches. It has patented oiler bolts that you can put a little WD-40 or 3-in-1 in that oiler bolt. It will then protect it if you happen to leave it outside. And there is where the Sling Pack comes in. Okay. Because what people usually do with these tools when they're using them is they will use them and they'll forget them outside. They'll use their pruner, their saw, they'll go to use their lopper especially. And as they're cutting, there's never been a place to put your lopper. You cut, and then you throw the tool down on the ground.
Right.
You cut, you throw the tool down on the ground. You pick up your sticks, and guess what happens? About a week later, honey, where's my lopper? Oh, darn it. It's out in the yard. It's been sitting there for a week.
It's rained on it. Got mud on it.
It's rained. Exactly. Dirty. It's corroded. It's starting now. In the old school loppers, okay, they would seize up. And then you go to use it, and you would break an arm. So what we did with the G2 is we designed it with the patented oiler bolts to resist that rusting or that corrosion. And then we decided to create a pack that you could wear, and we call it the Sling Pack. No one ever has. So we looked into it, and no one has ever created a scabbard, essentially, for a lopper.
Right.
And it's a tool that's so awkward to handle, and there's never a place to put it. It's so awkward to carry. We decided to invent the Sling Pack, which we did, and went to the drawing board, and we started out just by sewing just a crude fabric pouch that turned into a little bit more elaborate fabric pouch that we then hired a designer to draw up for us. We went through about 15 renderings, and then Scott and I finally got to the brass tacks and found somebody to sew what we now see as the Sling Pack, which is ballistic nylon, triple stitched everywhere, and wherever you see red stitching, it's actually quadruple stitched. It has silver on there. Not a lot of people know that, but that silver on the Sling Pack is reflective. So if you're wearing it on it's on an ATV, or if you're on a horse, you're going across the road, or you happen to lose it or leave it after dark, you're going to be able to shine it and find it in the woods. It has multiple pockets. We call it the first 5-in-1 lopper carrying case. So what it has is 5 different pockets where you can carry your cell phone and your keys in it. You put your pruner and sheath. I'll get to the sheath later because that also is something Scott and I developed. It has a pocket for the wow saw. Originally, we didn't have a wow saw, but we knew we were going to develop a saw. We just made a pocket that would generally carry an 8 to 10, at the time, 6 to 8 inch blade. And really, the 10-inch blades were only in the landscaping world.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it has a pocket for your sharpener. So now we've created a system. And what we do at EZ Kut is we want to create systems to cut and to groom and to take care of your property, your hunting grounds, whatever. So that's yep. Go ahead.
Something I've just noticed. I've never noticed this before on the Sling Pack on the sides. You've got these little eyelets, these that you can lock things onto. What was the thought process behind that?
I'm glad you checked that out, Michael. Thank you. So a lot of people miss that. Those little hanging triangles are extra to we envision people taking rope and running them through there and having their bow rope, okay?
Okay.
To tie up sticks. A lot of landscapers will bring twine with them, obviously then to tie up sticks after they do a lot of heavy cutting. But it's also there because we're going to add a lot more tools. We have plans to add things that will connect.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea of what's coming, we've got koozies that are going to attach to the Sling Pack, so when you're out there, you'll have a nice cold beverage strapped to your side as well. We have a machete that we're developing. The machete is going to be really, a tough, bad hombre in the woods that's going to get your cutting done, just like everything EZ Kut brings to the woods. And then, other attachments we have plans for. So that's all there. Also, though, it serves a purpose as lashing that down. A lot of our customers are equestrian.
Okay.
They own horses, they have ranches. A lot of trail riders. We sell to a lot of trail riding associations, and they'll go for hundreds of miles clearing trails. They'll lash those up to the back of their saddles.
Okay.
Okay. So it just serves many purposes. Yep.
Right on. Yeah, I never really noticed it. I mean, it goes in the back of my Jeep. I throw it over my shoulder when I hit the woods, and I get out what I need. I use it, put it back, and it goes back in the Jeep. So,
right.
So no, that's awesome. That I just happened to see it. I'm like, well, there's a purpose for that because you don't put something on a Sling Pack just for the sake of putting it on there. It has to have a purpose.
Right. And the last thing you may notice, and I'm sure you used it, Michael, because you've had it for a while, is there is a design slit in the back in the cap of the Sling Pack. That slit is there for a reason. You now can turn that into an actual over-the-shoulder carrying case that you can reach back and get your lopper. Once you convert that, you take that cover, you turn it over, you run your shoulder strap through it, and reconnect. Now the Sling Pack is always open, and you can reach back and get your lopper easily and use it that way.
Gotcha.
So, yep, it works. We're real proud of it. It's one of our original designs. It's one of the first things we created when we started EZ Kut, and it's been a hot seller for us as well.
I can tell there's a lot of thought that's went into this, and it's just simply amazing. I mean, I'm telling you, this was the first big piece of gear that I got from you guys, and I can't tell you how many times I've used this thing. Every time I take this and give the loppers to somebody, I said, try this out. they look at me in total amazement. They're like, this is so easy. And I said, that's the reason for the name, EZ Kut.
Love it.
So,
well,
as you can tell, we have a lot of fun bringing those tools to the outdoor industry. We really do.
And you as you talked about it and how you developed the pack, you knew you were going to come out with a saw. So why don't you talk about the WOW saw and how that came about?
There's another tool that people look at and they go, I got one of those. Mm-hmm. And I got to give Scott and I always get a little smirk on our face because, no, you don't. You don't have one of those. And the WOW saw, and so we don't even tell them the name yet.
Uh-huh.
And I got to give Scott the credit for the name. He came up with the WOW saw. We always try to come up with something a little catchy, and I think we do a pretty good job of it. Scott came up with the WOW saw, and like, I don't know about that. But the funny thing is, the way that thing cuts, the way we design those teeth, when people finally use it, and especially people that have used saws a bunch, okay, when they cut and we show them how that thing cuts, that they get through that stick and they go, wow. I mean, the first thing they say,
right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, all across the country, everywhere I go, I hear wow probably 100 times over a 3-day weekend.
Right.
It is fantastic. That saw is special because, number one, the metal it's made with and the way it was designed. The metal is an SK4 hardened carbon steel, chrome plated though. Okay, so you can actually bend that pretty darn good past the 45, and it won't snap or bend on you. Now, the cutting teeth on it are laser impulse hardened, so they're, we're doing everything the best that you can find in a blade. We're doing to our tools, right? And all of our stuff, the difference with us and the other stuff that's in the outdoor industry is that we really spend time on the blade. Well, that's the most important part. That's what's doing the cut. Mm-hmm. We're not delivering you a cheap old school blade that you got to work so hard to make cut. Our blades do the cut for you. So the teeth are arranged in a perfect pattern to allow to cut on the draw. So I always try to teach people, hey, you're going to get on that limb and you're going to go forward lightly and you're going to rip back with a little bit of pressure, very light pressure, consistent pressure. You don't need to rock it. You don't need to press hard and grind on it. You're just going to let the saw do the work, and it's just unbelievable. It cuts right through stuff.
Yeah, and that when you guys showed us that, I mean, every saw that you always cut on the front stroke, but on the draw, and when I let people use this, I tell them the same thing, and they do. They go like, they say, wow, that's awesome, because it does. It makes the job so much easier.
Oh, totally. I have so much fun. I probably use that now more than anything when I cut sticks for my shows, and of course, Scotty and I are cutting. I mean, every day we're cutting wood. It's just nonstop. And so, at any one time I could have 40 sticks, 6-foot long sticks in the back of my truck because I'm moving on to another demo or something. And I don't have to worry about my movement in the woods, the deer woods at that time. I just want to cut the most efficiently I can.
Right.
Well, I'm always have my WOW saw. I get out there, I rip a bunch of wood down. It takes no time at all. It's a smile on my face. It's really not like working. Mm-hmm. It's just awesome. Yep.
And you got the cutters, you got the WOW saw, you've got the pruners, all wrapped up in a sling pack. But you also include a sharpener.
Yes. So when we're designing this, we need something for everybody. We need to make sure that our stuff is pro level. We want everybody to be able to use these tools and enjoy them. So the thing about pruners and loppers is that people pretty much beat the heck out of them. And the number one thing they beat the heck out of is the blade. Because what they do is pruners and loppers are really made for green wood. Okay, they're not meant for dead wood. Dead wood is certainly something we can cut with our pruners and loppers at a certain level. You have to know you just have to know what your tool can do. And when you get used to these EZ Kuts, it can cut big stuff. You got to know its limits too. So when you have our knives, they're such good knives, what happens is it's not that they're getting dull. It's that there's a little curl that develops in that edge. Mm-hmm. And our pruners and loppers are to be sharpened only on one side. You'll see on all the blades, you'll see a larger blade on one side of the blade edge. That's what we used our carbide, that's what we designed our carbide sharpener for, is that you can now get any burrs off, and you can flatten out that edge and get it razor sharp again just by giving it a glance, following the edge, and giving it some good pressure 2 or 3 times. It's going to get you right back to where you belong, and the thing's going to cut like a dream. Instead of pushing through the wood, you're actually slicing.
Okay. So you just do it on one side?
Just on one side.
Okay.
And that's all you need to do. Okay, 2 or 3 strokes with that carbide sharpener, that'll get that curl out, and now you're slicing through the wood nice and easy. And for us guys that are using them maybe every weekend going out to deer woods, you do that once a month. The professionals are doing it every day.
Gotcha.
You know what? So that takes us through the entire Sling Pack. And Jerry, if people want to go and take a look at this and the videos, where can they go to find this, to find it on the web?
We're real proud of our website, www.ezkutproducts.com. That's the letter Z, KUT products.com. And you can go on to there, check out the tools. Everyone's linked up to there's a whole video, a page there with, it's a ton of videos and demos there. You can check them all out.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't we go ahead? We'll step outside real quick. We'll take our next break. We come back.
We're going to reach out with the EZ Kut.
Yeah, we're going to reach out. We're going to reach way out. So you guys stay tuned. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
All right, we're back. Third segment. This time, we've already talked about this product on the air once before, Jerry, but I'm going to let Danny handle it because the last time I had the blade off of the pole saw, he flipped his hand around and he caught it with his hand, so I'm not going to touch it this time. About took his finger off.
It was. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, it was bloody. But anyways, Jerry, we got the 20-foot pole saw in the studio, and talk to us about the pole saw and where you went with this because of being able to reach 15 and 20 with the saws. That it's an awesome reach.
Oh yeah. So part of our goals, our plans Scott and I had was to develop and develop the company more into the professional level. Okay, I mean we knew we wanted to deliver a high reach pole saw for our hunters for sure. That was primary, but we wanted to make sure we could also reach out to the landscapers, arborists, people that use these day to day. So we partnered up with a factory in Spain, and we developed our line called EZ Kut, powered by Kamikaze. And that is our pro line that we've got a number of products but I will start with the pole saw. The blades on the pole saw are the number one thing, right? Primary, every time we start, we're going to make a cutting tool. We start with the blade. We got to make them the best. We knew the competition out there. In the hunting world, there is no competition, seriously.
Right.
We outperform the cutting on anything in the outdoor world, bar none. So what we did is we decided in the pro world, the cutting saws are the best in the world are made in Japan. They're made with Japanese samurai steel. So that's where we started. We wanted to find where we could get Japanese samurai steel and develop a blade similar to the wow saw that would have the same type of pole cutting design as our wow saw in a pole saw. So that's what we did. The second step for us was then making, obviously, we're called EZ Kut for a reason. We want to make you work less. Mm-hmm. We want to make things easy for you. So we designed these poles at the highest level we could get, right? 20 foot is unbelievable for some guys. Right. You get a 20-foot pole in your hand, you're reaching 30 foot up in a tree.
Right.
I mean, it's amazing. So the 20-footer weighs only 8 pounds. We designed it with aircraft aluminum, the same aircraft aluminum that we use in the G2 lobber. We made the tubes more rectangular so that it wouldn't be just a pole, which doesn't have a lot of lateral strength. We made the tubes rectangular that has lateral strength. And then we double-walled the curves so that they have even more strength and strength at the locking buttons. And then we designed this thing so we kept the lightweightness. We took the metal out of the connection points, and we made the locks and the locks and the body of the saw that connects into the pole at polyamide. It's not a plastic. It's an actual specialized polyamide resin that has fibers into it that keep it, that is so strong but yet very lightweight. And the profile is very slim, so you're not going to get caught up in the tree or anything like that. And the last thing we did is we created a rubber grip, a very large rubber grip on each pole that both of your hands, as you handle the pole, can handle it and be on the rubber grip and not slip off that pole. But those poles are so light, the 15-footer being 7 pounds and the 20-footer being 8 pounds. They're so light you can handle them with one hand. You can actually operate the tool with one hand. It's a tremendous tool.
Yeah, I wish I could show the entire handle here in the studio, but I can't. It's just even collapsed down. We just don't have room here in the studio. But I'm telling you what, this thing is phenomenal. And really, I've tried using it one-handed. It works one-handed. It's ultra light, and it's just simply an incredible piece of gear. As Danny knocks everything in the studio, he's going to try to show it here. So as he's knocking stuff off the wall. But
there we go.
Yeah, but here's the rubber handle he's talking about. And it's really ultra light. It's a nice piece of gear.
And basically, what you know, look at that. You can this is the whole pole right here.
Right.
And I'm holding it with one hand.
Yep. And you got extensions on two sections of extension. The 20-footer is I never dreamed how you say 20 foot. Okay, yeah, whatever. But when you get that thing up there in the air and you start cutting 20 foot and you're reaching up with one arm, like you said, you're 25, 30 feet easily, and it's just simply incredible.
Yeah, and it's so easy to use, and the blade is so efficient that you're cutting through big stuff so easily. It's just amazing, right?
Yeah.
And on the 20-footer, you have the double hook, right? The bladed double hook blade. So if you get a hinge on the bottom end of that thing, number one, the hooks keep it in track. So as you're cutting, it keeps in track. That's what the pros use.
Yep.
Arborists use those kind of saw blades. So then it keeps it in track, so the cutting's better. And then if you get hinged up on a big limb, which happens all the time when you're cutting big stuff, it'll hinge up. Well, you just take that bottom blade and you jam it up in there. That cuts the bottom of that hinge, and off that branch goes. The thing is, it's a monster. We're real proud of it.
Yeah, you should be, because I tell you what, it's an incredible piece of gear. I love it. We've got them at camp in Indiana. We got it at camp up here in Michigan. I got one here for my own use. It's simply just a great piece of gear to have in your tools, for setting stands, for working on your own trees, what have you. So
absolutely.
By the way, guys, we originally, when you guys got them, we didn't have the covers, and I just so happened to have a cover right with me. We just came out with the cover.
Can I show you?
Yeah. I'm not going to get into an accident here.
Yeah, don't do that.
Reach over. Here we go. Here's our new cover. This is the Kamikaze Turbo pole saw total cover with a locking mechanism. So now you can protect that blade. Okay, it locks in. It will not come off. It's water resistant. Absolute beautiful. So now you can throw it in the back of your pickup and not worry about that blade getting hurt.
Nice. That is really nice.
I'll make sure you guys get a couple of those.
All right.
That'd be awesome.
You know what? We've covered all the gear that we've got here. You got some other gear that we haven't got our hands on yet, but talk about a few of the other things that you guys have got in your lineup that hunters and arborists and people, average landscapers that might be watching, can use.
Yes, sir. Well, Michael and Danny, we here at EZ Kut, we consider ourselves capitalists, proud capitalists, and we have gear all over the place. Check this out. Check the new EZ Kut shirt. Hello.
Hey, nice.
Yes, sir. Let me tuck that necklace back in. There we go.
Yeah.
That's our new EZ Kut shirt. On the back of it says EZ Kut powered by Kamikaze. That's on sale online, and they're very comfortable and high quality. They're awesome. But back to the tools, in our EZ Kut powered by Kamikaze line, we also have a pruner. It's called the Force Pruner, which is a bypass tool. And in the landscaping world, in the gardening world, a bypass pruner is very popular. It's a one-snip cutter, that basically shears like a scissors would on a branch.
Okay.
but our force pruner can actually cut much larger limbs. You see how we roll here, right?
Yeah.
We're always going bigger and better.
Just like
this
Texas,
force pruner, honestly, this force pruner honestly cuts the biggest limbs for a bypass pruner. We've tested it against every major brand in the world, okay, and the number one brand, the number one selling pruner, which is called Felco, and it beats it. It beats it by the amount of pressure per square inch that it takes to cut. So it's so much more comfortable to cut stuff. And when you're a landscaper, they like to go through stuff quick and easy, and obviously they'd like to do it a little less painfully as well.
Right.
So now our new force pruner, we think, is really going to be a hit. So we offer that now. We also offer a number of different saws that are really directed towards the pro world, but are great for the outdoor world as well. We sell them at the outdoor shows and online, of course, and hunters are picking them up now because they're so darn efficient. We've got our fixed blade curved blade, EZ Kut by Kamikaze fixed blade saw, which is basically a handle and a 13-inch blade.
Okay.
Just a phenomenal tool. Cuts everything. Just awesome. And then our surgical straight blade. Excuse the sun blaring through here, but anyways, that also comes in a 13-inch blade. It's a straight blade, and it really gets in tight spots. Also a great pro line saw.
Well, can I ask you a quick question about those two saws real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so this is a question I've always had. You've got curved and straight blade. What applications and why would you use one versus the other?
So the curved blade is going to be more of your in the open, cutting a big tree type blade.
Okay.
It's going to have a capacity to cut quicker through bigger limbs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The straight blade is really good. Say if you were wanting to cut a bunch of growth that was near a chain link fence, or a bunch of growth that grew together like willow does. Okay. In real tight spaces. You only wanted to cut some of it out, not all of it out.
Gotcha.
The straight blade allows you to get into tighter spaces.
Okay.
And then part of it is just the way you like to cut. Our arborists are picky, okay, on how they cut. Landscapers can be picky on what kind of tools they use, okay, to cut. So some just prefer a straight blade as opposed to a curved blade.
Gotcha.
It's just how you like to cut. Yep.
Okay. Fair enough. Sounds good. Well, what other items you got in there that we might be able to use in the outdoors? Oh, did I lose you? Uh-oh. Are you still there?
I lost you there for a second. I'm back. Sorry, guys.
Oh, no.
Technical difficulties here.
No,
I know you're driving, dude.
I just didn't want somebody running you off the road.
Everybody's good. Everybody's safe.
All right, good.
So, as far as the rest of the line, we've got other stuff in development. The new product coming out is called the Little G. It's going to be a take on our G2 Lopper in a little smaller frame. Oh, my goodness. It's going to be a hit.
Okay.
That should be coming out by the end of the year. We should be unveiling it around Harrisburg time in February.
Okay.
So we got the Little G. And then, of course, we've got a myriad of replacement blades and other oddball stuff that we sell on our web store.
Nice. Okay. Well, and that, again, is, where do people go to find it?
www.ezkutproducts.com, and that's EZ Kut. Letter E, letter Z, K-U-T.
All right, there you go. I tell you what, let's save the rest of our time. We're going to come back and we're going to find out about the man, Jerry himself. We found out about his products and how he got involved with the
Now
company.
it's time to learn about himself.
Now we're going to learn about Jerry. So I tell you what, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this.
Acceleration is part of PSE's DNA. PSE pioneered the speed movement. Now they've developed the vapor category to help you find the most powerful bows on the market to fit you.
High speed equates to intense power and building the momentum you need to be successful. Are you a vapor shooter? Find out at psearchery.com.
Welcome back. Last segment of the show, and we are rolling down the road. What state are we in now?
I'm still in Texas. I'm coming up to the Texarkana border, so near the border at Arkansas.
Okay, so that gives you kind of a geographic location of where Jerry's at right now. But Jerry, obviously when we started the show, you talked about hunting, how you got involved with EZ Kut, and how you got involved with Scott. Let's go back to a younger Jerry and getting involved in the outdoors. How did that start for you? What was the driving force that got you into the outdoors and the passion that you've got right now?
Well, boys, needless to say, I was a troubled young man. No, I'm joking. Well, yeah, maybe I was. But anyways, how it started, when I was a young boy, how does it start for a lot of us? For me, my father, my grandfather were a big influence on me. My father mostly in business, my grandfather mostly in the outdoors.
Right on.
My grandfather worked for a big printing company in Chicago. He worked night shifts.
Okay.
He didn't get a lot of time to spend outdoors, but when he did, he liked to go pheasant hunting. And we used to go outside of Chicago. Maybe Danny knows this area called Seneca out in LaSalle County. And Seneca's a beautiful area, still a great deer country, unbelievable great deer country. We would go and we'd go hunt pheasants. And and it was one of my favorite things to do as a kid. I mean, I would beg them to take me. Just loved to go pheasant hunting. Something about the smell of gunpowder in the air. Is that not the best or what?
It is awesome.
Yeah. So when I was younger, I was born in Chicago. I was born on the south side of Chicago. We only stayed there for a couple of years, lived in a town called Evergreen Park. We then moved to Springfield, Illinois. So as a young boy, I was about 4 or 5, lived in Springfield, Illinois. So I was around, rural America for a while. And then from there, moved to Parkersburg, West Virginia. And I spent a number of years in Parkersburg, West Virginia. And at the time, that was not developed at all. So there were hillbillies everywhere. Okay? Real hillbillies.
Good people.
And and so some of the pastimes in West Virginia was dodging copperhead rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
And, crawling around the hills of West Virginia, looking for creeks and catching crawdads. And I was just, I was a kid born in Chicago, but I tell people I'm 20% city boy. I'm 80% redneck.
There you go.
Because I grew up in the woods, and my father would take me out. We'd go squirrel hunting up in the hills in West Virginia. And then from there, I ended up moving to upstate New York. I lived in Buffalo, New York for a couple of years before, and I did the same things. I was, there are a lot of, people hear about New York, but New York is a grand place for the outdoors, just a beautiful country, right? Especially upstate. And so did the same things there, but never got into any big game hunting. I still, on occasion, when we traveled back to visit my grandfather, we'd go pheasant hunting. So then my mom and dad broke up while we were living in New York. I ended up moving back to Chicago and finished out 7th and 8th grade in Chicago. Talk about culture shock. Yes, I was born there, but I was a redneck.
Right.
I was a hillbilly that lived in Buffalo, New York. I had an East Coast accent, Chicago slang, and a little bit of hillbilly in me. It was weird.
That's a good combination.
So, yeah, it was bizarre. Needless to say, I got into a lot of fights, and maybe that helped a little bit. So it made me a little tougher. So I grew up back in northwest side of Chicago, and went to finished grammar school there, and then went to a high school on the northwest side of Chicago and played some football, did some wrestling, and ended up moving into the northwest suburbs of the Chicago area, about an hour out of not far from where EZ Kut is currently officed right now.
Okay.
In Lake Zurich, Illinois. We were in the town right next to it. So we bought a place up north. I knew you like this. Up north, Mike and Danny. We went up in the near the UP in northern Wisconsin, a town called Wasaki.
That's Danny country.
Nice.
Yeah. So we got that place in 1981. That changed my life because that place is where I learned how to deer hunt. So my father would take me out gun hunting. You know how it goes up north.
Yep.
November 19th or somewhere in that area, right before Thanksgiving, they open up and all the orange comes out into the woods, right?
Yep.
And so I cut my teeth on deer hunting up there in Marinette County, Wisconsin. And it took me about 3 years to finally get a clean shot. I've had some opportunities previous, but it was all running stuff. I finally got my first deer, which is the first deer I ever mounted. I shot it on a hill on our back 40 up in northern Wisconsin. It was a big old doe, and I was hooked. Big game hunting is my thing forever. And from there, I bought a used Fred Bear bow for $100, and I self-taught myself how to bow hunt.
Nice.
And what hooked me to bow hunting was the following year. I went out there in September, and I had a little 6-point buck come by. I about wanted to jump out of my skin. I was losing it. And I took one arrow, and I shot it directly over that buck's back. And it had no clue I was there. And it looked around, didn't care for anything. And I said, this is nuts. This is crazy. Knocked another arrow, drew that one back, and I shot right under its belly. And it did not move.
No
way.
way.
Did not make a move. And I'm like, this is crazy. This is the best. I can't believe this. I got to kill it. All I got to do is put it right between where those other two were. Drew that. Now I only had 3 arrows. I drew that last arrow, and I shot right over its back again.
Oh, man.
And that thing still just walked away like nothing happened. I said, oh, my gosh, this is the best thing ever. It was done.
You were hooked.
I was hooked. And I did hunt with that bear for a while. I never did kill anything with that bear bow, but then I moved into, I got my first Martin bow. I bought my first, a couple years later, I did kill a couple deer with that Martin bow, and then I moved on to an Oneida Screaming Eagle that old Ted Nugent sold me.
Wow.
Nice.
And I still have it to this day. Ted Nugent had a show. I bought it from him, and he signed it for me. It's hanging up north on my wall right now.
That's cool.
And I hunted that for a couple of years, and now I don't know. I can't even tell you how many bows I own now or have them.
Right, exactly.
Anyways,
so that's how it got you hooked, huh?
That's it.
Three
That's
shots.
all it happened.
3 shots and you're hooked.
Those 3 shots. Yep, I tell that story all the time.
That's a great story.
And they were all misses. So
that is awesome.
Well, so many times we tell the stories about, the big buck we got or our first buck or whatever. But you know what? It's not always about the kill. It's about that journey. And that's an awesome story.
Yeah, thank you. That was a lot of fun.
And kind of to pick your brain, we always ask when we have somebody to interview, we always ask some basic questions that we like to ask them. And it kind of digs into what you're up to. The first question being, okay, you've done the hunting thing, but now you got to eat it. So, like, what is your favorite go-to meal for whatever type of animal you might have gotten? What would be the one that you said, hey, cook me, I want to cook this, or cook me this, and that's what it is?
Yeah, my number one, that's, I can't say, I eat all kinds of venison. I love it all. I do. My wife has been cooking me venison since we were married, my God, since I started mowing. But I would say my number one thing is backstrap. Who doesn't love a fresh backstrap? My number one meal for venison is if I'm up in that Marinette County property and I happen to kill a deer that night, I will come home if my family's there or if my pals are up with me. I will bring that deer back. I will hang it immediately. I will take the backstrap out. I will cook it that night.
Nice.
And I little olive oil, little salt and pepper, and sear it up, and oh my gosh, we'll just, maybe some asparagus and some potato, and I love meat. Who doesn't love backstrap?
Absolutely.
I just love it. Yeah.
Fresh on the grill. And that's about as fresh as it gets.
Right, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
All
it's
right.
unreal.
Question number 2. You're traveling down the highway as you are right now. If you weren't doing an interview, which you are, what kind of music would you be listening to, or podcast? Or what do you listen to on the radio to keep you busy as you're driving all these miles?
Well, I kind of, I do so. I'll be honest. I don't listen to a lot of music. I listen to a lot of talk radio.
Okay.
I enjoy conservative talk radio. I do a lot of podcast stuff from a guy named Dennis Prager and Michael Medved. I just enjoy it. I think they're real intellectuals, and I like learning about that stuff. And then I'll, if I am listening to music, if it's a real long ride, I will listen to music. I like 70s, 80s rock. I'm a hard rock kind of guy.
There you go.
You give me AC/DC, and I'll get there a lot faster.
You're right. You absolutely.
As long as you don't get stopped on the way.
That happens. It does happen.
And this is a two-part question. The next one is, okay, so you're listening, you're driving. What's your go-to in the vehicle snack?
Well, I got two things: sunflower seeds and licorice.
Okay.
So if I need sunflower seeds, give me the salt and keep me busy. And I have a pack right here in my truck now, and the licorice I finished out last night, so I may have to stop and get some.
Okay, well, you got the salt in with sunflower seeds. What are you drinking with it?
Oh, now that my go-to. Usually I drink water. I mean, I drink mostly water, but on a long trip like today, after working all day, today was, I guess a 9-hour day, not that big of a day. But yesterday was a long day too. Getting in the truck and driving is kind of a pain. So I just pulled one out pre-interview. Little Red Bull, yellow, my favorite.
There you go, a little Red Bull. And okay, so now we've got you covered in the vehicle, what you're listening to. We know how you got your hunting starting. Now, you said earlier in the interview you've been spending hours on the stand, talking, thinking, coming up with all the ideas. You look in your backpack. What's your out in the woods snack? Now, I know sunflowers could be interesting. Licorice could be noisy with the pack. But what's your go-to snack out in the woods while hunting?
I am so guilty. When you get to be my age, boys, you're young. You're little young guns right now. Okay.
We're not that far behind you.
You get to I've killed a lot of deer in my life. So now when I go hunting, unless it's really like serious prime, like I know I got the big 180 living over there.
Right.
I will. I'll splurge on my snacks. I always like to bring a peanut butter and jelly sandwich out. If I do all stage sits, I'm definitely packing peanut butter and jelly.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite go-to is Twix bars.
Okay.
Especially when it's cold outside and those stinkers freeze up. They're delicious.
Right hand or left hand?
Well, it's I never thought of that. I use both, brother. I don't hang on to my bow. I hang that sucker and gobble it up.
Oh man,
that's awesome.
Well, I tell you what, it's nice to get a little insight into people. We talk to a lot of people, and we get the business side and everything. But when we can talk about these types of things, it just makes things a little more real for everybody and for us.
And I got one last question. Mm-hmm. Your most memorable hunt, either as a child, a memory, or as you're growing up, something that if we sat down and I said this question, the first thing that came to your mind would be.
My first bull elk in New Mexico, elk hunting. That would be that hunt was unbelievable. I killed a 340 bull. That's my first. That was a 340 bull, and it took me a week of hard hunting. And we got caught in the monsoon the night before. We spent the night out in the woods. The next morning, I shot my bull. So it was pretty unreal.
Okay, so was that like a backpack-in thing?
Yeah, it was. We rode horses into it's backcountry. There's no motorized vehicles or anything like that. So we hunted hard, and we got caught in a monsoon. If you ever been out west in New Mexico, the freaking mountain was just nothing but water coming down it, and we spent the night under a tarp. And we woke up, and all week long we were having a hard time locating bulls, much less any elk. And when that monsoon, after it broke, that next morning, a big old bull about 300 yards from us just let it out, and we went and killed him. It was awesome.
Nice, excellent. So your New Mexico bull hunt.
Yep, I've hunted there a number of times. Since then, elk hunting is one of my favorite things to do, especially with the bow. And Good stuff. But I got guys. I could fill up a week for you with hunts.
No. We just want the one that came to mind.
That's the one.
There you go.
That's a special. Yep.
That's what we wanted to hear.
Well, I'll tell you what, we got your camera turned sideways here. I don't know what happened, but we got you turned 90 degrees, I think. I don't know if it's on my end or your end. But
let me see. Hold on, guys. Sorry.
We got you flipped. Hey, keep it between the lines. I heard that.
I am. How's that?
There we go. We got you back now. There we go. Good deal.
All right. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. I'm back.
That's okay. No, that bull had you turned sideways.
I got so excited. Oh,
yeah, there you go.
Every time you mention bull, it happens.
That's right.
There we go. We're back.
Nice. Oh, I tell you what, man, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Very insightful. I learned a lot of stuff about the product tonight too. That the little things that I just didn't know. So,
guys, you don't even know about my catfish grabbing yet, though.
Yeah. That's right. Yes, I'm glad you said that.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah, we got to hear about that.
Okay, so, and this is something I've done with Scott as well. Scott was at this adventure, so it was kind of cool. For about 8 years ago, we were going catfish grabbing just about every year in Louisiana, a little oxbow lake off the Mississippi, and with our Mississippi buddies. And for those of you who have never catfish grabbed before, down there, they're pretty serious about it, right? And they eat everything they catch. I mean, and they make these catfish are so delicious. And we have a fish fry every night, the whole nine. It's just in a crawfish boil, and it's just fabulous. So the story goes like this: that we were fishing one day, and we caught 100-pound snapping turtle.
Okay.
On a trot line.
All
okay,
right.
It was hung up on a trot line. We were driving by, and we found this snapping turtle hung up, and we grabbed him. We brought it in. And that thing was so unbelievably beautiful. I mean, had to be 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So it was giant. It was just giant. So we brought it back, and these rednecks. Rednecks, they eat everything.
That's right.
We had caught all these catfish lined up. We had this snapping turtle. We're taking pictures of it, and they say, "Okay, let's get it. We're gonna kill it. We're gonna eat it." And we're like, "No way!" Now it was my buddies from Illinois and Scott, right?
Right.
And we're like, "No, we're not gonna eat this thing. It's 100 freaking things. Are prehistoric. It's like a dinosaur. What are we not gonna eat it for?" And come on, we eat these things. They're delicious. We're like, no, this thing's no. We wouldn't let them do it, so we threw it back. And the reason I tell you that story before I tell you the rest of it, because it has to do with it. So the next morning, we went out. First time we went on this river, because all the times we'd been there previous, we would hunt the lakes, and we'd go down deep and hunt these cypress trees in the holes and catch catfish, or on boat ramps under them and catch these. My biggest one to date is a 50-pound flathead.
No way.
I mean, I caught a 50-pound flathead with my hands, right? Awesome stuff. If you ever go onto our website, Takedown Outdoors, you can see pictures of it. I got pictures of it up on the website. But anyways, the next morning we hit this river. And the thing about rivers is, especially near there, they could be at any stage, right? They could be at flood stage. It could be high, low. And you got to catch them when they're just right. And these catfish go up in these holes. The thing about them is, the dangerous part is sometimes other animals will go up in those holes too, because they tend to capture some air in there. And when you're hunting or catfish grabbing boat ramps, there's no air in those. There's no air pockets. So the chances of you meeting up with a snapping turtle are not going to happen. Okay, snakes and snapping turtles or alligators, they always den up where there's air. They're not going to hide underwater. Anyways,
I see where this is going. I already see where this is going.
So I had already caught my fish. I care less if I caught. I was walking down the stream. We went 6 miles in on this river, and packed in, and we were catching fish. It was all fun. And I had brought a Marine buddy of mine with me to come hang out and catch fish. And he was loving life, and he just caught a big 30-pound flathead out of this hole. And Daryl, my Mississippi buddy, said, "Hey Jerry, come on, there's another one in there. Come on, get it." And I'm like, "That's okay. Let somebody out." "Nah, come on, Jerry." So I go in there and I stick my foot in there, and what I think is a catfish snaps onto my foot, and a little tear had just run down my face. That is the biggest freaking catfish in the world. I mean, oh my gosh, my toe. So I reach down, and it's still latched onto my toes, and I feel its jaw, and I'm like, "That's no freaking catfish." And the thing, as I'm saying that, snaps onto my hand.
Oh, no.
Now, when I tell you this story, now I'm underwater. I'm mostly underwater. I'm up to my neck in water here, and the thing's on my hand. And I go back to that 100-pounder we caught the day before. That thing, when we put it next to 50-pound catfish, it would snap at those catfish and cut their jaws right in half. And if you ever been held onto a flathead's jaw, they're nothing but cartilage. They're thick as can be.
Mm-hmm.
And we would take sticks, big oak sticks, and we'd bring it up to that 100-pounder, and it would snap it right in half. And all I could see was, oh, my gosh, my fingers are gone. Gone. And the first thing I thought is, oh, my God, that's my trigger hand. But then it wasn't my index finger. I've still got my index fingers. It was my 3 fingers right here. There's still kind of a crease in my pinky finger. You can kind of see it. The 3 fingers got latched on.
Oh, man.
And I was freaking. I dropped back in the water. I saw some blood as I flipped back. I didn't even want to look at my hand. I said, just pull my. At the time, I had those water boots on. I said, grab my water boots, and they put my water boots off, and sure enough, my toes were all there, just a little bloody. I'm like, oh, thank God, I got my toes. I was more worried about my hand. I pulled my hand slowly out of water. All 3 fingers were there, and it just looked like I could use some stitches. Honest to God, guys, if those fingers had gone, I had a 6-mile walk back to go get help. Wow. I mean, it was over with, right? And all I could think about was that 100-pounder we let go the day before.
Heck yeah.
How big was the one that got a hold of you?
50 pounds. Daryl ended up pulling out. That was a big freaking snapping turtle, plenty big enough to do some damage.
Wow.
And if you ever seen snapping turtle bites, many people have lost fingers from
Oh,
snapping
yeah.
turtles.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I am one blessed dude. It was unbelievable.
So,
but I will tell you, we did eat that snapping turtle.
He didn't go back.
No, he was not going back. So
you got your revenge on him, huh?
Yeah, that's my catfish grabbing story. I thought you might like it.
That's awesome.
Man. Now, are you going to go back and do it again?
Yeah, I did. I ended up going back the following year. We catfish grabbed. So, I mean, it was, it's not something that happen often for sure. I mean, it was definitely an oddity,
Wow.
But it's a lot of fun to hunt those fish that way. It really is. We have a blast doing it. So
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, we'll get you out there, Danny.
Yeah,
we'll get you out there, Danny.
We'll take Danny, and I'll be the camera guy.
No. That's all right. We'll fight about that.
That is awesome. Oh man, what a great story. Glad you got all your fingers back. I mean, especially because you got to have to work them pruners, right?
Oh, dude, totally. It hurt me all across the board for sure.
Oh man. Well, I tell you what, we're running a little bit long here, so we're going to wrap up the podcast portion, but we'll stay on the live stream for just a few minutes, so we'll wrap that up. So for everybody that's listening on the podcast, obviously we talked about a lot of products tonight, and we showed a lot of products on the live stream. So for those of you that are listening to the podcast, go back Wednesday.
Wednesday I'll re-release it. And
it's on our Facebook page tonight.
Facebook tonight. It'll be released. I'll put a link on Facebook to go to the YouTube site.
Okay, so there you go. So make sure you go back because we showed a lot of product, and that way you'll be able to see what we were talking about. And
one last time, Jerry, where can everybody go to look at this product?
www.ezkutproducts.com. That's EZKUT products.com.
There you go.
There you go.
EZKutproducts.com. Make sure you get over there, check it out. They got a full assortment of things that you can use out in the field, use at your house, wherever. We've got them here at home. We got them at our camp. And
if you're in landscaping.
Yeah, landscaping, whatever.
Hunting, landscaping, professional, not professional, amateur.
Yep.
You can use it.
And where are you going next, Jerry? What show are you headed to?
Next show is going to be an industry show actually for dealers, landscape supply, and so on in McCormick Village in Chicago, downtown Chicago, this Wednesday actually.
Okay.
So that's our next show, and then hunting wise, I'm trying to think, guys. We'll be in San Antonio. We will have a group in San Antonio at the Trophy Hunters Extravaganza there in San Antonio, Texas.
Okay, right.
There we go.
Yep.
It's something that just kind of popped in my mind that you mentioned. If there's some companies out there that sell outdoor products, that maybe they're a storefront and they would want to get some EZ Kut in their lineup in their stores to sell, how would they go about doing that?
Well, the best way to do is call me or Scott. You can call me at 224-500-9523. We'll hook you up with some type of dealer pricing or a distributor in the area. Currently, guys, we're working on distributors in Michigan. We do have a number of dealers in Michigan. Michigan's one of our hot states. Wisconsin is one of our hot states. Indiana. So, yeah, we've got dealers in a number of states. But give us a call. We'll hook you up. We'll get you good pricing that you'll be able to turn around and sell these things for a profit.
Nice. Very nice. Because that's what we're all in this for. I mean, we got to make money to do this, so it's what we do for a living. But I tell you what, we're going to wrap up the podcast portion right now, folks. We'll be back again next week. Next week, Danny, we've got
next week is going to be Bowfest.
Bowfest. So make sure you show up
17th over at Spot Shooters, 9 to 5, I do believe is the
9
hours.
to 6.
9 to 6.
Yep. So stop over at Spot Shooter Archery. Their new location is going to be their grand opening along with Bowfest. So we'll be over
Bates will be there, and Rebel 6 will be there.
All right. So that'll do it for us this week, folks. Y'all take care. We'll see you again next week. And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. This episode was brought to you by PSE Archery,
Spot Shooters Archery,
EZ Kut,
Packer Max,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Scent Lock,
Scent Blocker,
Lim Walker Game Calls,
Buck Baits,
Gut Check,
Stanislavski Release Aids,
Copper John,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
and Wind Sense Vapor Hunting Products.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe. Until next week on the Up North Journal.